G'day guys, how are we? Just come to this cemetery today to see if we can find some graves of interest. What I mean by graves of interest are ones that have got a little bit of a storyline to them. This is a grave of Thomas Ulrich Burke, who died May the 10th, 1867, aged 41. Now, Thomas was a banker. He was a bank manager at the Bank of Australasia in Smythesdale. And on Friday night, the 10th of May 1867, he was returning from a gold buying trip at Break of Day, which is a gold mining area, when he was shot in the head and robbed of gold and money to the value of £1,200. The body was discovered the next day, and a reward of £300 offered by the bank for information leading to the capture of the murderers. The two men, George Searle and Joseph Ballon, were apprehended a few days later, and the gold and money were found buried under the stable floor at the Cosmopolitan Hotel, which was owned by George Searle, one of the accused. The pistol was also found by black trackers from Carnham and in a hollow log at the rear of the stables. The men were remanded at the courthouse in Smythesdale and tried at Ballarat Circuit Court, and they were found guilty and hanged at Ballarat on the 7th of August 1867. There's also some nice older graves here too. Got a little bit of history to them. This one here is dedicated to Joseph and Susan, native of Ireland, in memory of William Smith Nimmin, who died 31st of December 1895, aged 27, and their beloved daughter Agnes, who died 19th of March 1911, aged 47 years, I think. Yeah. Now, the name Nimmin is quite prominent here around Smythesdale area, in particular a little outside town of Newton, where there happens to be an awesome bridge called Nimmin's Bridge, and I'm just wondering if this William Smith Nimmin is associated with Nimmin's Bridge. Reverend John Gow was the first minister ordained in Victoria, and he also owned a lot of land. He was a sheep farmer, very well known in the community of the day. He was born in 1830 in Glasgow, and he was the son of a sea merchant and was educated at the University of Glasgow and came out to Australia. This is a grave of Henry Raffle, who lived here in Smythesdale. He was the proprietor of a hotel at Smythesdale, and he advertised first-class wines and spirits and good accommodation for travellers. He was also the manager of a line of coaches which travelled daily between Ballarat and Smythesdale, Linton and Carnham. Okay, this is a grave of Jane Lee. Now, she was married to a fellow called John Little, and the day after their wedding, John set out alone to the Australian goldfields, and Jane later travelled to the goldfields. Eventually they bought a hotel, and the hotel was known as a bit of a shady sort of hotel, and there was a little bit of renowned crimes that were permitting unlawful sports in a public house. and the place had eventually got searched for stolen goods. Jane's life was a very hard life, typical of the 1860s, and she became an alcoholic and was involved in a lot of brawls. So she was probably one of the ladies that you just wouldn't want to cross paths with in a dark alley. Her funeral, she was very popular though, because her funeral was one of the largest in the district, and hers was followed by 53 vehicles and about 70 horsemen. So she was a very respected citizen, even though she was quite a good brawler in the pubs. There you go. Some nice old graves out there in that grassland, but it's a little bit high out there and it is a bit of a snaky day, so I'm not going to go walking through there. I have walked through there before, but we're at the grave of Dr. Louis Sanger. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Dr. Johann Hermann Louis Sanger. He died on 2nd October 1857, aged 37, only young. He was murdered outside the home of William Harris at Newton, Scarsdale, by a 57-year-old Welsh miner named James Jones. So he was probably one of the first doctors in the area. Pretty cool. Not cool for him that he was murdered though. Just want to quickly pay my respects to Anne. Last time I came here she stuffed up my phone on my filming because she didn't appreciate me filming her awesome grave, but I just wanted to show everybody how awesome this is. Give a little respect this time round. We've got John Lynch and John and Isabella Lynch. The Lynch grave is the largest family plot in the cemetery. This one here, pretty big. John was born in County Clare, Ireland. Although he was trained as an engineer and mathematician, he came to Ballarat in the 1850s as a digger. So he came to try and dig out some of the gold here. He joined the Ballarat Reform League and took a leading part in the no licence agitation on the Ballarat goldfields. This agitation led to the open rebellion at the Eureka Stockade on Sunday, the 3rd of December 1854, in which John Lynch and Peter Layla, second in command, apparently as part, become the owner an old blunderbuss. He owned an old blunderbuss. Okay, not too sure. Blunderbuss? Is that one of the old wooden tanks or something? I'll have to look that up. In 1861, he was one of the founding councillors of the borough of Smilesdale. The mines department appointed him as a mining surveyor of the Ballarat mining district. John married Isabella McGregor in 1838, and she was from Scotland. And it's a little bit of a write-up about the family, kids he followed, and some of those that are buried here. There you go. So we've got a few people buried in this plot here. Bird family, Harriet and George. George was known as a councillor and had quite a bit of property. And John was also a member of this cemetery trust. He was president of the Australian Natives Association, president and Secretary of the Scarsdale Old Boys Association, President of the Grenville Shire Council in 1955 to 56, past Master of the Prince of Wales Masonic Lodge, and like his father, a member of, that was the son George Melbourne Bird, who I just related all that about. Yeah, because his son was buried here too. So we've got the father, George Bird, the son, George, yeah, buried in this plot here. Louise, John and Mary Bird, also buried here too. So a big family, and a prominent family of the area too. Eliza Sharp, she was born in 1877, born in this area, and she was the youngest child of a miner, and the only way that she knew how to make some money, keep a roof over her head, was to play music. And she was an accomplished piano player. She played a lot of concerts and dances and wedding parties throughout the district, and she was considered one of the finest pianists, and she was very much sought to accompany many vocalists. She used to play the organ at a church as well, and she had no means of transport, so she would walk everywhere carrying her musical instruments, and if she couldn't get a lift. And it was in 1945, while playing the piano at Smythesdale Hall, that she collapsed and died. She was 68 years old. And there you go. And this is her grave right here. Just out the back there's a little ruin of some sort of a building. I can't remember what it was. I did know, but I just can't remember at the moment. I'm not going to walk through there. The grass is a little bit high, and I did see a snake before, so I'm not going to tempt fate. We also have a lone pine over here. You can just see that. And a lot of the cemeteries in Victoria do have their lone pines commemorating the Anzacs. They've mown part of the cemetery, but I think they need to mow a little bit more. Rather old one, this one. Nothing on it to state who it may have been. Got to send out a quick blessings to Denise Ann and Malcolm Charles. Just have a feeling that I might know somebody that's connected to these two. Okay, this is a grave of Charles Gordon, Robert Gordon, Francis Gordon, James Gordon, John Gordon, Elizabeth Jane Gordon, Edith Gordon, and Mary Ann, and also relict. Oh, can't read that. Of John Gordon. Yeah, anyway, Elizabeth's was a bit of a prominent figure here. She was born in the area in 1861, and she was the third child of 14 children. In 1891, Jane signed the women's suffragette petition. It is believed that she lobbied heavily for Sunday school teachers to become accredited in the same manner as ordinary school teachers. Sunday school teachers at the time were not religious instructors, but taught children and adults who were unable to attend normal schooling. On the 8th of November 1907, Jane died at a family home at Gemini Farm, Scarsdale. She was aged 46. She was at a prominent person. A newspaper report read, "The funeral of Miss Jane Gordon of Gemini Farm took place at Scarsdale Cemetery. The children of the Sunday school at which the deceased was a teacher marched in front of the hearse and the teachers on each side. The pallbearers were 6 ladies, friends of the deceased." The presence of female pallbearers was unusual at the time. Jane, it would appear, was a woman with strong ideals and a woman who was held in high esteem by her contemporaries. Well, there you go. That's a little story of Jane. A couple more people that were prominent in the area. Elsie Emily Simpler. She actually purchased and opened up a hospital in the area, and she moved around all sorts of places. She opened up Creswick Health Centre as well. Anne Harriet Hearn. Father was a bootmaker in the diggings, and she did a lot of writing and contributed to the historic literacy of the area. And Peggy was a butcher's wife, took on a little bit of that trade, completed a dressmaking course, and she had 5 children. She loved writing, and she died of cancer in 2002. So there you go. Not only the early people, as in the first 2, but a recent one. There was a prominent person in the area. Very cool. This one here is quite modern. It's a recent addition to this cemetery. Quite nice. And as I thought when I was walking through some of the land around here, they do have some unknown burials. I don't know where they're buried, they just know they're buried here. So blessings to all those who lay here. We hope you've enjoyed a little bit of a look through. I just thought it'd be nice to go to a place where we know there are some stories, just to get to know some of the people here, some of their lives. Sometimes it's nice for a change instead of doing some of the paranormal stuff. This was a local lock-up at the Scarsdale Courthouse. Now this is actually a 3-room cell. Used quite a bit back in the 1800s. Courthouse over there. This is the old police horse stables. This is where they kept their horses. Again, back in the 1800s. And this here is the original gallows from the HM prison, Ballarat. It was obtained in 1965 when the gaol was demolished. This one here was used several times for hangings. Ballarat Gaol was completed in 1862. The first hanging took place in 29th of February 1864. There were gallows at Melbourne, Beechworth, Bendigo, Ballarat, Geelong, Castlemaine and Ararat. In total, 195 men and women were hanged in Victoria between 1842 and 1967, with 13 being executed at Ballarat on these gallows. Alexander Davis, executed 29th of February 1864 for murdering George Sims at Smythesdale. James Jones, executed 19th of March 1866 for murdering Dr. Lewis Sanger, and we saw both of their graves just before. Joseph Bland and George Searle, executed together on 7th of August 1867 for the murder of Thomas Alec Burke. We saw his grave before too. This display is one of only 2 remaining complete gallows in the state of Victoria. So 13 people were executed by hanging on these gallows. And this was based at the Ballarat prison. And now it's out here at Smythesdale on public display. And as just noticed here too, and I've been here a few times, but just underneath here there's it's like a mechanism. Pull on the lever and she'll open the traps, I reckon. That's what that's about. There you go. So we've not only seen the graves of those murdered, but we've seen the gallows of the murderers where they had their last little bit of life. And not very long, they were hanging from this beam. More information boards around about the area, about the Germans who came here, about the Chinese who came, about the gold mining days, the gold miners. A little bit of a historic area. There's the old courthouse, an old school building as well, all built in the 1800s. And right across the road, if you ever come down this way, is Courthouse Hotel. I've run some great meals there. Buy yourself a drink, grab a meal. Alright, that's about it for about the 5th time. I think I'm saying cheers for now. Bye.